Good morning. Welcome to morning meeting. So here's what's on my mind this morning. And I've talked about this before. It's the idea of letting things go that you don't have any control over. So here's what happened. We went out of town and we've been traveling most of the summer, really a good chunk of the summer. And before leaving, we made sure that like the yard was tidy. Now when I say yard, we live on about 10 acres. So we don't do everything all the time. So when I say yard, I'm saying like right around the house, right? Making sure that that was tidy. Everything else can do whatever it's going to do, but let's just keep this all kind of tidy and mowed, right? So we do that before we go. Make sure it's all kind of shipshape before we go. And then we come back and we'll do it again and then we leave. All right, so now we're back and I won't be traveling again, at least for a little bit. I won't be traveling again. And I'm trying to get caught up on some things that did get a bit overgrown that we didn't quite get to the last time we left. I got everything mowed, but I didn't get everything like trimmed, right? On the sidewalks and pathways, and there's a lot of weeds growing and some of them are more than 5 feet high at this point. So there's a lot going on. And I felt completely overwhelmed. So much so that for the first time in 16 years, I said, you know what? Maybe I need to hire someone to come and just clean this up to get it back to a point where I can take over because I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. And I mentioned that to my kids and I mentioned it to my husband. And then there were a couple days where it wasn't too terribly hot. And so grab the kids and say, okay, let's go outside. Let's see how far we can get. We won't spend hours out there. Let's just do it. And you got to get up in the morning. Otherwise you're going to be, it's sweltering and you can't make it. Right. So we get up. There were a couple mornings where we just couldn't, well, okay, they couldn't get up and I would be out there anyway. But we've been working on this one pathway for easily like a week. It's almost done. I mean, it's looking pretty good. I moved on to another patio area that's next to it and started making headway there and chopping some things down. But it's overwhelming. There's so much. And I remember my father asking me one time, well, how do you manage all this? And I said, you know what? You just have to focus on one area at a time. You cannot look at the whole thing the entire time, because if you look at the whole thing the entire time, it is incredibly overwhelming. But if I just pick one area, one section, I say that's the thing I'm going to do for this summer, or that's the thing I'm going to do this week, then it's less overwhelming. It's just easier to manage. And that's been the case, right? So in this example I'm giving you, we've made great headway. We've had some crappy weather because it keeps raining, and so then yes, it's easier to pull weeds when it's raining, but it's also messier, because it's muddy and blah blah blah. Your hands get all anyway. But we've made headway. But it's because I said we are all going to focus on one section, one thing at a time, so that we can feel a sense of accomplishment when we finish. We can see that we're making progress. Because in the past, we've divided and conquered, right? And that just isn't going to be effective. When you're looking at a big thing and feeling overwhelmed, that just doesn't work, in my view. And that certainly proved to be the case here. And my kids felt so much better because they said, see, we're all working on the same area and we can see that we're making progress and we feel good about the progress that we're making. It feels less overwhelming. So that's something to think about. And that's what's on my mind this morning, is taking a project and breaking it down to the little thing that you can do today to help you get to that bigger project. What is the one thing? And maybe it's one really tiny thing that you're going to do to get you moving. I'll give you another example. One of the things that I do when it comes to exercise, if I'm not feeling like I want to do any exercise, which has been the case for a while now, for various reasons, I break it back down to fundamentals. And for me, that means anything I can do for 30 seconds or less. Anything that's 30 seconds or less. So I started this yesterday. Back to the basics. Yesterday I did one push-up on my knees. I did one jumping jack and I did one squat. It ended up being kind of a deep body squat that I did. Did the same thing this morning, because this is how I jumpstart, and I know this from experience, this is how I jumpstart an exercise or movement routine for myself to get back into my habit, because it's a lot easier to restart a habit that you already had than it is to bring on a brand new habit, right? But it comes down to breaking it down to that smallest thing. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, that would be my suggestion. Take a look at it. Find the smallest thing, the tiniest thing that you could do today that would help you. 30 seconds or less. That's all you got to do. And then you go high five, boom, pat on the back, put a check mark on your wall calendar if you're like me, and you feel good and you move on. So I hope that helps you today. I'm about to go do some more writing so I can kick off the rest of my day. Have a great one. Remember to like and subscribe. See ya.